Warning! This podcast is like a hot grill on Labor Day. Dangerous if you touch it with bare hands. Listener discretion is advised. Side effects may include anger, laughter, and the sudden realization that politicians take more vacations than your HR rep with unlimited PTO.
Labor Day used to be about honoring the American worker. The guy with grease on his hands. The mom juggling 2 jobs. The farmer up before dawn. Now it's mattress sales. Politicians marching with union bosses while their donors ship jobs overseas, and woke corporations running social media campaigns that mean absolutely nothing. Welcome back to Data and Dissonance. Tonight we're asking, has Labor Day lost all meaning, or is it just another 3-day weekend distraction while the country slowly forgets what real work even looks like? Let's meet the panelists. First up, Brian, the man who spent his entire Labor Day weekend manning the grill like it was a military operation. 3 racks of ribs, 2 pounds of brisket, and 1 suspicious amount of light beer cans in the trash. He says Labor Day is about honoring workers, but if you saw his smoke cloud, you'd think it was about launching a backyard invasion. The man with more meat sweats than the CDC has warnings. Next up, Rachel, the voice of reason at the table, who spent her holiday weekend mediating arguments at the family cookout like she was hosting her own CNN town hall, only with more potato salad and less fact-checking. She says she's independent, but if you ask her cousins, she's guilty of felony-level eye rolls every time someone brought up Biden or Trump between bites of coleslaw. She survived 3 cookouts, 2 political debates, and 1 uncle storming off with the hot dogs. Over on my left, Daniel, the man who can turn a barbecue into a TED Talk about Bilderberg. While the rest of America was focused on grilling burgers, he was focused on connecting union bosses to shadowy international elites using nothing but yarn and push pins. Neighbors just thought he was flipping steaks, but in reality, he was flipping through declassified files in between buns. If there's a conspiracy behind Labor Day, he's already drawn a flowchart for it. And rounding out the panel, Skylar, our progressive green voice, who spent the holiday not at a barbecue, but in the garden, planting kale in recycled tire planters, using solar-powered grow lamps, and probably writing a strongly worded blog post about why vegan hot dogs deserve more respect. They say Labor Day is about solidarity, and for Skylar, that meant standing in solidarity with compost worms everywhere, armed with kale chips and a reusable water bottle. Tonight's episode is brought to you by the Caleb Rourke Thriller series. Book 1, The Covenant Protocol. Book 2, The Prophet Directive. Book 3, Black Echo Rising, coming this December. Pick up your copies on Amazon today, because freedom isn't given, it's fought for. And don't forget our Rock Creek coffee blend. Medium roast, bold flavor, notes of toffee and dark chocolate, roasted in the USA, built for people who actually work for a living. Available in whole bean or ground. Brian, let's start with you. You've been saying for a while now that Democrats only love workers when there's a parade involved. Looking at Labor Day 2025, do you think this holiday has become more about optics than actually respecting the folks who keep the country running?
Absolutely. Labor Day now is less about the guy laying concrete in 100-degree heat and more about senators showing up to grill hamburgers they didn't pay for. Democrats especially love to wrap themselves in hard hats for a photo op, then spend the rest of the year kneecapping the energy industry and passing regulations that crush the small businesses. It's fake support, a costume they put on once a year while the real American workers left picking up the tab.
Yeah, nothing screams man of the people like a senator in a brand new Carhartt jacket with the tag still on. That's not solidarity, that's cosplay. All right, Brian, let me throw another one your way. Some unions are using Labor Day to demand higher wages and more benefits, while small business owners say they can barely keep the lights on. Do you think this divide proves the holiday has been hijacked by opportunists?
Exactly. Look, I don't begrudge anyone fighting for better pay, but unions today aren't mom-and-pop operations fighting for fair hours. They're political megaphones. Teachers' unions spend more time lobbying for woke policies than making sure kids can read. Auto unions drive up car costs, then blame everyone else for the price hikes. Meanwhile, the diner owner, the landscaper, the truck mechanic, he's not part of some giant lobbying group. He's just hoping to break even while competing against regulations and red tape stacked against him. Labor Day used to celebrate him. Now it's all about power brokers cashing in.
Right, and let's be honest. The only time a union boss breaks a sweat these days is when they jog to the bank to deposit political donations. Okay, last one for you, Brian. Does celebrating Labor Day even make sense anymore when half of Gen Z thinks making TikToks is a career? Are we honoring labor or just lowering the bar for what counts as work?
You nailed it. We're living in a culture where people think editing YouTube shorts is equivalent to a 12-hour factory shift. Sorry, but making a dance routine in your parents' basement doesn't equal welding steel or hauling freight. When we start equating digital hobbies with actual trades, we water down the meaning of labor. Real work means sweat, risk, and sacrifice. The kind that keeps the lights on, not the kind that gets you likes on Instagram.
Yeah, if twerking in front of a ring light is labor, then I guess I deserve hazard pay every time I doom scroll through TikTok. All right, Brian, I'll cut you off before you trademark Make America Work Again. Let's go to Rachel. Rachel, Labor Day started as a serious movement to honor the backbone of America. Do you think there's still any value in keeping this holiday, or has it just turned into mattress sales and backyard cookouts?
I think there's value in remembering the people who built this country, but let's be honest, the holiday has drifted into symbolism without substance. It's supposed to honor laborers, yet the very people it's meant to recognize, nurses, grocery clerks, first responders, often work through it without recognition. Meanwhile, politicians and corporations hijack it to burnish their image. The cookouts and sales are fine, but they don't honor the real sacrifices workers make day in and day out.
Yeah, I love the irony that the people actually working on Labor Day are the waitresses bringing politicians their celebratory cheeseburgers. Rachel, you've said before that both parties exploit workers when it's convenient. Democrats march with unions, Republicans talk coal miners. Is either side really standing up for labor, or is it just another round of flag-waving marketing?
Neither side is truly consistent. Democrats weaponize unions as political machines, while Republicans sometimes talk up blue-collar pride, but focus on tax breaks that rarely reach the working class. At the end of the day, both parties cherry-pick workers they can use as props while ignoring the systemic issues crushing families. Inflation, housing costs, automation. Labor Day exposes this hypocrisy because both sides show up to claim credit while the average worker is still drowning.
So what you're saying is, Labor Day is basically the Super Bowl of pandering. Politicians treat it like halftime entertainment before going back to ignoring the score. All right, last one for you, Rachel. Inflation is crushing families, automation is cutting jobs, and yet we still celebrate a holiday about work. Do you think there's a disconnect between tradition and reality here?
Absolutely. Celebrating work rings hollow when people are working harder than ever but can't afford basic necessities. Inflation means paychecks don't stretch, automation means jobs disappear, and policies aren't keeping up with the changes. So while the tradition of honoring labor is worth keeping, it needs to reflect reality. That the average worker feels less valued and more replaceable than at any point in modern history.
Yeah, it's kind of like giving out Employee of the Month plaques while quietly replacing half the staff with robots. Rachel, thanks for that. Now let's spin the corkboard and see what Daniel's got. Daniel, I know you've been itching for this one. From your perspective, is Labor Day just another manufactured holiday designed to pacify workers while corporations consolidate more power?
Without question, holidays like Labor Day are social pressure valves. They let people feel seen without actually changing the system. The elites keep it around not because they care about workers, but because it distracts workers. Give them a day off, give them a parade, let them blow off steam. And meanwhile, the corporate class keeps outsourcing jobs, inflating markets, and cutting wages. It's not about labor, it's about managing discontent.
Ah yes, the old bread and circus approach. Except now it's beer and BBQ, with a side of gas prices so high you can't afford charcoal. Some people argue unions aren't about workers anymore, but about funneling money into politics. Do you see Labor Day as part of a bigger play, Like laundering influence through something that looks pro-worker on the surface?
Absolutely. The modern union leadership isn't the same as the rank-and-file worker. Leadership funnels billions into politics, and Labor Day becomes their stage. It's not a celebration of workers, it's a funding cycle. Parades, rallies, and speeches are less about honoring the guy on the line and more about strengthening the machine that bankrolls politicians. Workers are pawns in a much larger chess game.
So it's less solidarity forever and more, don't forget to direct deposit your dues straight into the campaign war chest. Got it. Here's the big one, Daniel. Do you believe the elites intentionally keep Labor Day around because it distracts people with a barbecue while they offshore jobs and erase industries?
Exactly. Every grill lit is a distraction from factories closing. Every parade float is a smokescreen for another industry being gutted. They want you comfortable, full, and distracted while they erase your future. It's not about honoring work. It's about anesthetizing the population so they don't notice what's happening to them.
Man, I can't decide if I'm hungry or paranoid after that. Either way, I'll be checking my hot dogs for microchips. Daniel, thanks. Let's round it out with Skylar. Skylar, conservatives say Labor Day is fake, but progressives argue it's one of the few days that still puts workers front and center. Do you think the criticism misses the point?
Yes, I think conservatives are being dismissive here. Workers today are struggling more than ever. Wages haven't kept up with inflation, healthcare costs are brutal, and corporate profits are soaring. Labor Day isn't perfect, but it's still a symbolic reminder that workers matter. Dismissing it outright is basically saying workers don't deserve recognition at all, and that's unfair to the millions who hold this country together.
Fair point, but let's be real. If recognition alone paid the bills, Starbucks baristas would be buying beach houses by now. Critics say unions are corrupt, but workers on the ground, baristas, teachers, warehouse crews, are still struggling to get fair wages. Do you think Labor Day is a way to remind America that the fight isn't over?
Absolutely. Unions aren't perfect, but without them, workers would have no leverage. Labor Day is a reminder that the fight for fair pay, safe working conditions, and dignity on the job isn't finished. The fact that conservatives mock it shows how disconnected they are from the struggles of ordinary people. Labor Day should renew focus on the rights that still need to be defended.
Defended rights? At this point, most Americans would settle for defending their lunch break without getting a Slack notification. And here's the closer for you, Skylar. When conservatives mock this holiday, do you feel like they're ignoring the fact that without organized labor, most American workers would still be stuck in poverty wages with no protections?
Exactly. Without labor movements, there'd be no weekends, no minimum wage, no safety laws. Workers didn't get those handed to them. They fought for them. Labor Day is about remembering that progress. When conservatives mock it, they erase the sacrifices of past generations who bled and struggled, so today's workers could have even basic protections. It's not about barbecues. It's about respect.
Respect is good, but if the unions keep pushing, pretty soon your day off is going to come with a surcharge. Thanks, Skylar. And that's our panel for this Labor Day special.
Labor Day was never supposed to be about politicians marching in parades or union bosses holding microphones. It was about honoring the real backbone of America, the truckers on the highways, the roofers up on ladders in the blazing sun, the guys on oil rigs risking their lives so the rest of us can fill up our tanks. But somewhere along the way, the meaning got hijacked. Now it's about virtue signals, hashtags, and excuses for people who've never worked a day in their lives to claim they stand with labor. I'll tell you this. You want to stand with labor? Start respecting the jobs that keep the country alive. Start respecting the men and women who actually break a sweat, get calluses, and put their bodies on the line. That's real labor. That's who Labor Day should be about. Not the suits, not the activists, not the influencers, the workers. Period.
What stands out to me every Labor Day is how much of a contradiction it has become. The hardest working people, the nurses pulling double shifts, the waitresses on their feet until midnight, the cops and firefighters who can't just take a day off, they're often working through it. Meanwhile, the people who don't need recognition are the ones getting all the attention. I don't think we should throw the holiday away. I think we should reclaim it. Reclaim it from the politicians. Reclaim it from the corporations. And actually make it about the invisible labor that keeps society functional. If we want to honor labor, then let's start by valuing the people whose work is ignored until it's suddenly essential. That, to me, is the real spirit of this holiday.
You know what Labor Day really is? It's a distraction, and it always has been. Give the population one day to feel celebrated while you dismantle their industries the other 364. Every grill lit is another closed factory hidden in the smoke. Every speech about solidarity is another offshoring deal signed behind closed doors. This holiday works like a pressure valve. It lets people feel acknowledged just long enough to keep them from realizing the system is rigged against them. That's why the elites keep it. They don't care about honoring labor. They care about keeping workers quiet. If we really wanted to honor labor, we'd be demanding policies that restore industries, rebuild communities, and break the chokehold of corporate monopolies. Until then, it's not a holiday, it's a smokescreen.
Labor Day is far from perfect, but it's still one of the few reminders in this country that workers matter. Without organized labor, we wouldn't have weekends, safety standards, or even the idea that a worker's life has value beyond the profit they generate. Sure, politicians exploit it, and sure, corporations try to water it down with PR campaigns, but at its core, this holiday is about recognizing the fight of ordinary people who refuse to be treated like disposable parts. Conservatives may mock it, but without labor movements, many of the freedoms they enjoy wouldn't exist. The point of Labor Day isn't to make us comfortable. It's to remind us that every single right workers have was won through struggle. If we forget that, we risk losing it all.
At the end of the day, Labor Day is supposed to be about honoring work. Real work. The kind that leaves your muscles aching and your hands dirty. The kind that builds bridges, grows food, and defends freedom. But in 2025, it feels like we've traded that dignity for empty symbolism. We've got politicians pretending to be blue-collar for a photo op, influencers calling TikTok dances work, and unions that seem more interested in politics than paychecks. If America wants to keep this holiday alive, then we need to get back to honoring labor itself. The sweat, the sacrifice, the backbone of this country. Until then, Labor Day is just another Monday off for people who don't understand what it means to actually labor. Remember to speak truth, stir thought.